Sawe Omnibus. Well, Tyler Preston has released a video titled, Questions Skeptics Have for Religious People, and hey, I thought since last time I had to defend BuzzFeed atheists, I see it only fair that I should make a response to this sort of video, and hopefully, since this is coming from the anti-SJW skeptic community, I expect their questions to be more edifying. So let's get started.
3 words for you. Orgasms are awesome.
Oh, de mihi.
Explain to me how your deity is supposedly compatible with the idea of free speech, when just taking that deity's name in vain is actually a sin. Think to yourself, does your deity support free speech? If in any way speech that is not harmful to anyone is subtly a problem, including taking that deity's name in vain. Do you not see an issue with this?
Does my deity support free speech? So you're assuming that liberalism is somehow a litmus test for God. That God has to conform to man-made standards of morality, even though many of the Enlightenment thinkers asserted that these liberties were God-given. As to your specific question, does the fact that God commands us not to take his name in vain violate free speech? This is a non sequitur. You're assuming that a moral teaching I follow necessitates that I seek to impose it by law. I think you're misguided by thinking that my belief in God must be compatible with liberalism, because that's not how God works.
If religious beliefs are so easy to see and the evidence is all there and faith comes from your life experience, why does propagation of the beliefs come through indoctrination in childhood? Certainly, if the ideas were really that present and everything was really that obvious, people would have come to these conclusions on their own.
See, this shows how absurd the claims of atheists often are. They actually believe that Sunday school, possibly the most innocent and innocuous thing in the world, is akin to child indoctrination. You know, when you're a kid and you go to that extra room in the church and the teacher tells you the story of David and Goliath, to them, that's like living in 1984. And what you're asking is just like saying, hey, if the truth of science is so easy to grasp, if it's so self-evident, why do kids need to go to science class? Why don't they come to it on their own?
Especially with today's pointless wars, how can religious people be soldiers when their religion has a commandment against killing?
Well, which religion are you talking about? And it's like you're assuming that every religious person is a militant. Is the old couple that goes to church down the street the same as ISIS?
Why do so many of you find it absurd that we can figure out murdering people is wrong without having someone tell us not to?
Because maybe some prominent atheist didn't see a problem with killing?
My question to theists is, why is it up to me to provide proof that God doesn't exist?
Because you're the ones trying to advance a worldview?
You're the one that's saying he is existing, that he's
And we have for thousands of years, and now you're contesting it.
here. Oh, he's right here. Where? You have to have faith. No, you have to prove it to me.
Is this guy okay?
And I don't have to prove shit that he doesn't exist. That's up to you. That's like if I was like, hey, there's this fucking magical fucking rainbow up in the sky.
And we've come to the Bronze Age myth fallacy. And this is my biggest problem with atheists. This proof they demand must conform to their worldview, which conveniently makes it impossible for God to exist. So no argument will ever satisfy them. But what do you want me to do? Point to God? I can point to a flower and use the argument from beauty and the prime mover, but you reject that. I can point to my own religious experience. You reject that. I can argue the authenticity of the Bible. You reject that, even while blindly believing the works of Tacitus.
When your kid comes out as an atheist, why do you kick them out?
Look, if that happened to you, I'm sorry, but you can't blame all religious people for that.
How come? As soon as someone starts disagreeing with your religious standpoint, you always assume that it's a personal attack against you.
The hypocrisy here is so staggering, you don't have to move past the last question to see it played out.
Do any of you understand that a lot of us are skeptics because of personal reasons?
Or the next one.
Why do some of you want to witness for your respective deity? You mean to tell me that person can make everything in existence, and without that being, the universe wouldn't exist, but suddenly they need you to become a cheerleader for them?
Replace the word deity with science.
Now this one is directed towards a specific religious person. Why do you
Okay, this made me angry. Going after a specific person in this type of video is, in my view, highly unethical, and negates the entire point of the video. You turned a video that's supposed to be directed at people of faith in general, and used a segment to attack an individual. That's just sad. Dean, don't listen to these people.
If your holy book is the words of an omnipotent God,
which one?
Why couldn't he speak in a way that doesn't lead to such extremist interpretations?
He did?
It's almost as if they were written by beings thousands of years ago which didn't possess supreme knowledge.
Sure, let's go with that. Even though you don't provide any examples, make distinctions between religions, and I can demonstrate plainly how this doesn't apply to one of the few religions this actually applies to.
Do you think people who are outside of your religion should still follow the rules of your religion?
Like that murder and incest are wrong?
If yes, what gives your religion the right to enforce its will onto people, but believe other religions can't do the same?
I don't know. I happen to think monogamy works pretty well.
Why do you assume that skeptics believe in Satan if they don't believe in Satan?
Because Satanism is a non-theistic religion?
What was the point of Jesus dying for our sins when he was just resurrected again? What did he sacrifice?
Try reading a Bible.
Why is it that every time someone makes even the slightest criticism against your precious religion, you immediately go on a no true Scotsman warpath?
Gee, those atheists did some pretty horrible things, didn't they? No true atheist would do that.
This question goes out to all the Jehovah Witnesses out there.
About time you got specific, but seeing as I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, I'll not answer this one.
A key feature of science is its ability to adapt to new information and edit old ideas that didn't work into better ones that more accurately represent the world. What happens when evidence comes to light that doesn't fit with what your text claims?
Science doesn't work that way. The laws of nature are eternal and non-changing. We just discover them more fully. And science isn't exactly like religion as much as you want it to be, so this is another non sequitur.
Which religion other than yours would you say could get into heaven?
What religion can get into heaven? What?
When questioned with the plausibility of your beliefs, why is the default response always that it's too big, too great for us to understand?
Well, this isn't misrepresenting your opposition or being intellectually dishonest.
Well, I don't need an answer because I couldn't understand it possibly because I'm just human. I'm just a lowly little human. God is so much bigger than we could all understand.
Do you understand all science?
And a follow-up for that, if God is so much bigger than we could understand and so much more complex, why bother? We can't see it. It's outside of our realm of understanding and knowledge and even plausibility with what we know. What's the point?
I'm not a deist.
Why do you claim that atheism is a religion if it does not require a congregation to not believe in God?
Because you have holy books, evangelize, have saints, a worldview which can be used to explain everything, are dogmatic, and created an identity for your non-belief. And you literally have churches now.
Has it ever occurred to you that some of us are perfectly capable of living our lives without a higher power to guide us?
Has it ever occurred to you that we believe in something more than just living?
Why do religious people always seem to go to the "look how much we donate to charity" as soon as someone starts pointing out all the bad things done in the name of your religion?
Because it's counter-evidence, and which one?
I don't have a super broad question for religious people, but...
Oh, why stop now?
I figured since I'm an American...
So is everyone else in the world.
You know, Cole Beasley, America's team.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Captain America shirt in the closet. Got my flags.
Watashi no furagu wa anata yori mo oki desu.
Hajime! And yeah, I'm American and I generally love everything America.
Like our robust evangelical movement and Christian heritage.
And my question for religious people in America, especially the Christians, is why do you always claim that the United States was founded on Christian principles?
Because it was?
Because it wasn't. It was founded on classical liberal principles.
The Puritans were liberals?
Something we call today a little bit different. We call it libertarian principles.
Oh, do you now?
Because the far left, or a lot of the left and the right, have gone completely off the rails.
And coincidentally, we're becoming less religious.
and they really don't know what the hell they're talking about a lot of the time. The fact of the matter is, our country was not founded on Christian principles.
Yes, it was.
As a matter of fact, some of the founders of the United States were not religious people.
Yes, they were.
If the Bible has over 100 different translations into English, why do you still worship that message as the gods?
Do you think the translators had no idea what they were doing?
Now, I've got this thing. You know what this is? This is a pocket constitution. I have 3 of them.
Weirdo.
I keep one in my room, one in my backpack for my coming and going in and out of school and interviews and whatnot.
For emergency recitings of the Amendments.
And one in my ride.
And I have a Bible. Which one do you think I care more about?
In case I have to slap down a cop for something or other. Which
Racist.
I've never had to do, fortunately, because I don't act like an idiot when I get pulled over. But anyway, there's this little thing in the Constitution of the United States of America. You may have heard of it. It comes right before the Second Amendment, which I know you've heard of. By the way, I'm a fully 100% supporter of the Second Amendment.
On with it! Yes! Get on with it! Get on with it!
The way it is written here. But it is the First Amendment. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting free exercise thereof.
The second part you may actually want to pay attention to. Does this mean that politicians and voters can't act according to their morals and consciences? Are all Christian morals negative in your view?
Or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Although in your case, it's usually do as we say or we'll bring the ACLU in to sue your ass.
Now, this means that it is written into the Constitution.
So it is written, so shall it be.
The very first amendment, the very first change to the Constitution, that the government shall not show favor towards one religion or another.
So you're saying that everyone in the government, everyone in American history had it wrong until the atheists came around.
Okay, that very simple paragraph, this little tiny paragraph right here, it's not very long, it's pretty easy to read, it's pretty easy to understand in my point of view.
On with it! Yes! Get on with it! Get on with it!
The United States was founded on the principles, like I said earlier, of classical liberalism.
Okay, let's say you're right. Does this mean these ideas apply anywhere else in the world? Well, they do now since we bombed everyone who disagreed with them, fighting intolerance with atom bombs.
You do know that you're not the first person to discover religion, right?
What? 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 What?
If your holy book and the clergy are always right, how come so many things has been changed by science over time?
I don't understand the question, and I won't respond to it.
When factual evidence comes to light that directly disproves an aspect of your holy book, suddenly it's an allegory and was never meant to be taken literally. Is the measure for determining if a section is allegorical simply whether or not it is factually correct?
Just because it's an allegory doesn't mean it's not true.
You know, I noticed that a lot of you argue about what color your respective messenger was, be they black or white or whatever. I'm going to parrot a point that one of my favorite comedians made.
Let's be honest here, these comedians make up half your influence.
Do you really think a being created us, knowing what we would do, only to punish us for those things?
It's called free will. Apple, anyone?
After we do them? I mean, especially if you're going to be one of the people who thinks that all non-religious people go to hell.
The place we can choose whether or not to go to.
Or some other deadly, painful dimension of eternity. I mean, if that's the case, why create non-religious people? Because if that is true, if God created people, some of whom are non-religious, wouldn't that mean he did it with the intent to have some of those people burn for eternity?
So you're saying that people can't choose the religion, that an atheist can't believe in God. Is it just me, or are these atheists getting dumber and dumber?
Can you all stop getting your panties in a wad over the fact that skeptics just aren't interested in adopting your mindset?
My what? Mind fact? And this question is completely not applicable to atheists who go nuts when a religious person wants to talk about their religion, or doesn't want atheists screaming that they're backwards idiots.
If your family or friend comes out as atheist or agnostic, will you still accept them for who they are?
Would you do the same?
Why do you people keep using the argument from beauty and argument from ignorance? A flower can be beautiful without God, and just because you don't know how something happened, that doesn't mean God.
So you basically just asked a question to immediately answer it and look smug. Wait, that's the entire point of these videos.
For all the religious people out there talking about the quote-unquote 1% and talking about greed and corruption, don't you find it a little bit odd talking about greed and corruption and taking advantage of the poor or the not so well-to-do when you have clergymen running around taking private jets, driving the nicest cars, and eating the best food in mansions off of tithes and offerings? And a lot of times those offerings come from people who probably shouldn't be giving in the first place because they are not really in a position to, but because they are taught to be guilty and taught to give money no matter what, they still give money. Do you not understand what cognitive dissonance is?
Okay, so we see another horrible misunderstanding of religion. You clearly have no idea what a tithe is, or how the Catholic Church operates. The Church, since its inception, has made helping the poor one of its primary functions. But honestly, with how unbelievably conceited and naive these atheists seem to be, is there any chance they could actually understand a rational argument when they see it?
Don't you think religion is an incredibly convenient answer to one of the most painful questions of our existence? Hey, what happens when you die? I don't want to die. That sounds shitty. I like being alive. Oh, you just go to heaven if you're good. Only if you're good. You only get ice cream after dinner if you're good. We tried this with children. It's fine with children because they're not going to behave otherwise. Fine, right? Santa Claus will only come if you're good, and you leave him milk and cookies, and it's totally not your dad.
So this video has reached full stop. I mean, listen to this guy and tell me he isn't acting like a bully and using the same damn tired line of, if you believe in God, it's like being a child. It's like Santa Claus. Well, let's just ignore how unbelievably ignorant and insulting this is and see that Jesus already covered this 2,000 years ago.
This question is for all the Muslims out there. Have you shown where Sharia law can actually work in your own countries? Why in the world would you want to impose that in Western countries?
Well, I can only say this as a Christian, but I think if I was a Muslim and I was living in a Western country, with the set of morals I had, I would see an increasingly immoral and hostile society around me.
What is your take on homosexuality?
Bake the cake, bake the cake, bake the cake.
You do know that apes and humans share a common ancestor, right?
I wasn't gonna make a racist joke,
Why
but
do you deny the existence of atheist persecution, but then proceed to talk about Christian persecution?
why do you do the reverse?
Why would a god create beings in his image, then ask them to perform surgeries on themselves to remove parts he gave them?
Read the Bible.
How can your God be just when a child molester can get into your heaven when he just repents? But a perfectly good and decent individual helping others all of their life will be sent to hell for believing in the wrong God.
See above response.
Why do you guys want to force creationism into schools if creationism is the exact opposite of science?
Why do you want to force evolution into schools when science is the exact opposite of religion? Oh wait, no it isn't.
If God is omnipotent, then he knows exactly what it would take to convince me of his existence. If he knows how to convert me instantly, why would he not give me a sign?
Are atheists the most self-centered people in the world? Perhaps you may want to consider that the universe doesn't revolve around you.
Seems to me like if you want to push this idea to devalue earthly possessions, why is it that so many of you focus on the idea of donations and tithes and offerings? Why do so many of you take money from people? How is that consistent with devaluing earthly possessions?
Do you really think that's what Jesus taught us? That because earthly riches are not important, we should just let poor people go hungry and die?
If your God is all-knowing and all-powerful, why would he permit that there are other religions, and therefore confusing all the billions of people following a different religion?
Free will.
Wouldn't it be better for him to reveal himself?
He did. Okay, that's about all I could stomach. The rest of these are just as cringeworthy and irrational. My, these atheists are stupid. I mean, I think the only interaction they have with religion is watching Christopher Hitchens' compilation videos. None of these ideas are original. I mean... Okay, so when I went into this, I thought atheism is unstoppable was the worst of the atheist community. But no, AIU may be an ass, but he is at least coherent. These people demonstrate such a lack of self-awareness, ignorance, and a lack of critical thinking skills, they're just lapdogs for their saints. So, I can't believe I'm doing this, but Devin, I apologize, because I thought you were the worst. And guess what else? Diabana.
Wir wollen unseren alten Kaiser Wilhelm wieder. Wir wollen unseren alten Kaiser Wilhelm wieder. Aber den mit dem Bart, mit dem langen Bart. Aber den mit dem Bart, mit dem langen Bart. So schwärmten unsere Eltern von der guten alten Zeit. Sie liegt so fern und weit, die alte Kaiserzeit. Doch war sie wirklich besser, diese gute alte Zeit, als einst der Opa, die Oma hat wohl gefeit. Ja, mit Jagdgesang und mit Hörnerklang, rings um Fair Berlin, durch die Wälder ziehen. Ja, mit Jagdgesang und mit Hörnerklang, ritt die Oma mit dem Opa. Doch sie hielten an und küssten sich, sonst wären wir